Good morning, this is Stephana, and you're listening and watching Stephana Speaks. I am talking to you today about whole body, mind, wisdom, and I want to do a quick disclaimer here. So everything that I'm saying, everything that I'm talking about and showing you, this is my personal opinion. It's not medical advice. It's not to be substituted for medical advice. It's not to be substituted for psychiatric treatment or psychiatric advice if you need that, or legal advice or any of that nonsense. So just to get the disclaimer over with, this is my time to speak my truth and share what I have, and if you choose to listen, this is for your entertainment purpose and no other reason. Now, for me, my intention is different. I certainly want to share my wisdom and share my experience after many years of trial and error and experiencing numerous adventures in life and coming through small traumas, huge traumas, small wins, huge wins, and sharing my insight. I think that one of the best ways that I have ever learned is from someone like me, sharing with me something that has happened to their life and their experience. And so it's almost like a mentor, but it isn't necessarily even like that. But we can learn so much from someone who has lived it and breathed it and is integrated into their lives, and they know what's worked and they've released what doesn't work, and they can really guide you in a place that allows you to move that much faster. I think that's why coaching is so successful now and has moved from being the counseling and the chaplain and all of that. That's who we used to go to when we had troubles. For business, hopefully we had a mentor, but who did we go to when we had trouble in our business? Now, because coaching is so prevalent, having a mentor is so appropriate and politically correct now. It's one of the fastest growing industries, which is quite, it's a good thing. But it's interesting to see how many put up a shingle very quickly, and many could say that about me. Well, what is she doing? She's an actor. That's what she's done for 30 years. But what's interesting also is that from the time that I could speak, I was kind of an advocate or a coach or somebody who cared enough about the person in front of me to assist them in their highest and best good. And that's always been just what lives and breathes inside of me. So for the different programs or different methods that I've created throughout my lifetime, most of them have always been so that I could help myself. And I think that when we want to learn something, we teach it, right? And so this is good with people who become a coach and then they go and teach it. They do it not so much because they can't do it, but because they want to learn it. And one thing I find very true often is that we are here to do and teach what we need to learn. And for my clients, I see it. We're here to learn and teach what we need to learn. A couple of things that I wanted to go over, and so you can reach me through stephanajohnson.com. That's my main website. So that's what I do on my day in, day out basis. Stephana.net is my modeling and acting website, and Find Joy Beyond Trauma is the book about the trauma and the abuse that I had started out in the beginning of this year, really, really out there, kind of doing a lot of shows and a lot of radio shows about the trauma and abuse, specifically sexual trauma, and then bringing on the pieces of trauma, because the healing around trauma, for me, when I'm working with clients, is pretty much you could insert whatever type of trauma, the basics are all still there. And so findjoybeyondtrauma.com has a free webinar there and a free downloadable ebook or a little report, really. It's about it's a few pages. So it has 21 tips and tools to turn trouble into triumph. And that is still the methods that I teach in there are what I use every day. And then when I create and add to that, so the P.I.L.O.T method that I teach is practicing presence. So we're here, we're getting present, not only with our minds, so I know you're here physically, and I know I'm here physically. Sometimes we're not fully here physically, and so we haven't integrated our body. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, as far as having the wholeness of your body, wholeness of your mind, and how the dynamic of those two, the mind and the body, work together in a way that can be very beneficial. For example, how you sit your body or how you stand your body, especially as an actor, the way your mind actually functions can be improved by what you do with your body, because they're integrated. It's really interesting to look at those discoveries. So we'll talk about that later in the show, and we'll go back to now the P.I.L.O.T method that I talk about. So the P.I.L.O.T, and the second one is intention. Now for intention, we've gone over how it is, you're setting your decision, so your desire to move forward. It's different than affirmation. So I could have a desire to be an opera singer, and I have absolutely no voice, but I have this deep desire in me to sing as an opera singer. And that, no matter how many times I affirm, I am an opera singer, I am a great opera singer, that will never be true. I don't have the capacity within me, I don't have the skills, and I also don't have the desire to build those skills of what it would take. Who knows? I mean, I don't have the full capacity to be a great opera singer. So what I would look at is, what about being an opera singer lives inside of me? And what I know is that it's the expression of emotion so fully through my voice. And then I would look at, how could I do that in a way that my body naturally could express that? And so that, for me, is being an actress. Now I look at that for anyone, any client that I coach, I would go through that same scenario. What is it? Say, for example, someone wants to be a star basketball player and they're 5'2". Well, maybe they could, but it's not likely, especially if they're 45, right? The thing about that, though, is we would want to get deeper, pull it down a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper until we find the real dream that's underneath there, and see what is living and breathing in their body as well as their mind, of having that dream inside of them. So segueing back into how the body and the mind integrate, with coming back to this place of intention. So as an actor, we use our bodies, and after 30-some years of learning different components about my body, so I've gone into fitness and learning how my body moves and integrates physically with movements, and learning whether it's Tai Chi or yoga, different types of things to help me enhance my body, so that my body was the best tool, vehicle, and the skills in my body to do and express fully my emotions, whether on stage or screen, were in the highest working order. So for let's say, that's how this translates to business. And when I'm working with my clients who are in business, now most of them are coaches and consultants, small business owners, but some of them are also artists, and they use their body along with, let's say, a computer. Okay, or let's say if they're a pianist, they're going to use a piano as an extension of their voice. The computer is an extension of someone's voice. Let's say if they're a writer and they write on the computer, or someone may do it on a yellow notepad, a legal pad, and that's how they do it. But that's an extension of their expression, of their voice. If they're writing, if they're singing, if they're playing piano, you get the idea. Those are all tools. If they're a violinist, the violin is an extension of their body. So if the point of their body, so I'm going to talk to you as if you're at the computer, and your computer is an extension of you. The point with our bodies is we have our own use of our bodies. And okay, so I'm going to go back a couple of other pieces because these pieces will help as well. So I homeschool my boys. They're 5 and 8. And I spend a lot of time researching and studying about developmentally appropriate, age-appropriate movement. How will this movement, or what movements need to occur in order to help their brain function? So there's programs like the Brain Gym, which is fantastic. And so understanding the crossing of our midline is very fundamental to our brain developing in a manner that is balanced and integrates and fires off correctly. So when I say fire off, it means the brain cells, they're functioning in a way that they are firing off in a capacity that works at their highest level. Okay. Now, what we've seen is in the time now where we have little crawlies where we stick our babies in a little jumper and they just sit there, and they're not doing cross crawling. They're not learning to crawl. Like, they're going straight from being babies to sitting, and they've missed the cross crawling and developing their core. Okay, developing the strength of their spinal column, and these are crucial. This is really, really key, because the brain that is also connected to the eyes and the mouth and the skills of motor skills and the skill of the brain being able to identify and control different parts. Okay, so here's another piece. When the kids are on their tablets and playing, or they're on iPads and they're learning this, they're not getting the developmentally appropriate or necessary, okay, necessary even. These are vitally necessary for a child to develop so that their brain develops on a level. Now, the good news is that an adult can actually benefit from integrating these exercises, like from Brain Gym. One of the things that I do every day, and this is something I developed in the 90s, is my program called Yoga-Lachi. I call it healing through movement. And what that does is it's combining all of the cross midline, the vestibular. So we're talking about how the different directions a body moves in. So if we're just sitting here at a computer all day long, you can see what the body in its movements are missing. The bodies are not developed to sit at a computer like this all day long. And the brain and the functionality of the brain and all of the components of the full human being, where the body and the mind are integrated, are lessened. The skill, the developmentally, it starts to shrink. Now, let's just look at this as a scientific experiment from my own entertainment, right? If you are sitting at the computer all day long, how do you feel? Do you get a crank in your neck? Do you start feeling listless? Just observe, okay? So let's use the O in P.I.L.O.T and observe how you are feeling. Are you more awake, alert, capable, creative after sitting there for a long period of time? And if not, what happens if you get up or you adjust and do different movements like this? let's say we take our right hand and we'll just grab our ear for nothing else. I'm going to grab my ear and I'm going to grab my other ear and I'm going to take a deep breath. So I've already created a cross on my midline. And just in doing this, my brain, I can feel it already awake. I'm more awake, I'm more alert. So I hope you're trying this with me. So we've taken our right hand and grabbed our left earlobe, and our left hand and grabbed our right earlobe. Now, what if we added to that a squat all the way down to the floor? So we've changed and shifted our body. Now we come back up, and that is some of the movements that we can do. So then other movements, if we push in directions, instead of being forward like this, watch what happens in my forward movement. If we take our arms back and clasp our hands behind our back and open up our chest and relax our neck. So those are just simple things that you can do in your day. Now, it certainly suggests standing up and moving, especially on that low back, because when we sit for long periods of time also, we are shrinking this part of our body. So this area is not necessarily supposed to be shrunk like that. It is an extension. It should be an extension. So a lot of offices, I know in Portland, there's a movement to have people stand rather than sit, and this is actually shown to be more beneficial to someone's productivity and their ability to stay focused. And that elongating of especially the psoas and the muscles, it doesn't shorten the piece in the front, and the low back does not get as tense. All right, so if you spend most of your time on the computer, these are going to help you exponentially. But if you're doing something else, your business is maybe out coaching or out speaking or doing things where you're integrating with your body, let me talk about the Alexander technique. So this is something that I've taken just so in Yoga-Lachi, I created a component of yoga and Pilates and Tai Chi and Alexander technique and Feldenkrais, and bring those in as pieces that help. So everything that helped me and was beneficial, and I could see and log the shifts that occurred, I brought in. And Alexander technique is one of my favorites, and here's why. So Alexander he was an actor, and he developed this. This is in the 19th century, early 20th century, and he showed how the body, especially the neck. So if an actor, so he lost his voice and he couldn't speak, and he started experimenting with what he was doing with his body that was making it so that his voice could not project or express. And very simply, now Alexander techniques are not just very simple. Let me say, people who are Alexander technique and are experts in that have trained for a long time and have worked very hard. I am not a trained Alexander technique person, but I have used some pieces for myself and integrate them in my everyday life. And for me, it also allows, it goes hand in hand with the P.I.L.O.T method. So just like I talk about with the P.I.L.O.T method, practicing presence, sometimes we just think, oh, I was practicing presence, I'm here mentally. But practicing presence also with where we want to be with our physical body, and knowing how our physical body in positions can make a difference. So if we have, if we're forward, I'm going to show you from the neck. So if I stick my neck forward, that's actually cutting off the integration of my capacity to fully speak clearly. So anyone who has taken voice classes, opera singers would be a good example of this. They have to use their whole diaphragm, and if they're collapsed in this position, their voice, you can already hear my voice, how it's changed. It shifts into, you're losing the capacity of your voice. And when I say voice, so I'm bringing voice in from that place of whatever your voice is. Again, if you're a business person and your voice is, like your song is, creating some computer, you're a computer programmer or something, or you do something with the computer specifically. So your voice is an expression through the computer. Okay, so you have that connection, and so any area along the lines of that are cut or inhibited shrink your ability to fully express that voice, which is your gift. Okay, I hope all this is making sense and kind of coming together. As I continue every show, I'm just going to build on this concept of what I'm talking about in the wholeness and the whole integration of our body, our mind, our purpose, our intrinsic brilliance of who we are. Now, I know I can get really out there and really touchy-feely thing like all of that, but it comes back down to also a very analytical, very tangible evidence that you can see simply by bringing your body into a present state where you are intending to, when you sit down to the computer, you're intending to connect with whether it's your audience and be in that present moment in your fully available, everything that you have at your everything that's there for your capacity. You are at full capacity for expressing your unique voice and your unique message in whatever way you are here to express it. So as you're sitting, like I had gone through, you can use the different tools, the quick movement here, breathing in, getting that, crossing the midline. Crossing the midline this way. In Qigong, we do some tapping and we can cross the midline this way. And all of this is helping to cross the midline. Bringing one leg up and doing like a mountain crawl or the crawling. So I'll do tapping and then I'll bring one hand up and one knee up at the same time. So it'll also create that balance, that brain balance with the body, right? The brain-body connection. And then getting the head. So we have this 8-10-pound ball sitting on top of our shoulders. And if that head, or this 8-pound ball, right, is forward like this, the head is actually just sitting there. And if it's not sitting properly on top where our ears are stacked on top of our shoulders, look at the tension in these muscles back here. So if you have a lot of shoulder and neck issues and your head is forward, thrust forward, you've got the muscles straining in your cervical spine and around your neck and your shoulders. So just by bringing that head back on top of the body to where it'll feel almost like you're doing a Frankenstein. If you were to stand up against a wall, you could feel the back of your shoulders, and then just turning your thumbs to face forward, you bring your shoulder blades, or I like to call them angel wings, into a little more of a gentle squeeze back there. So that activates them and it puts intention in your body. Not tension, but intention, right? So eye of the pilot. We are looking at how our body is intentionally moving. So if we intentionally bring those shoulder blades back and we intentionally bring our head back to where it needs to be, which is stacked on top of the body, so that our neck muscles are not constantly being gripped and pulled on to hold that head up, it will relieve so much pressure on that neck. Even then, when you turn and start to work on the computer, ideally your computer is set up so that if your head is balanced on top of your body, where the ears are over the shoulders, then you're looking with your line of vision straight ahead. The moment your computer is lower, you're going to find that your eyes goes down and your head thrusts forward. That immediately brings tension to that neck and the cervical spine and the muscles around that area, which then shortens or shrinks your capacity to fully communicate your message. Okay, so to fully bring your brilliance to life. And this is another component that I coach on. It's not a huge component, but it is a piece that a piece that I do bring to my coaching, because it's one of the fundamental ways that I coach, and that is in a holistic business model. And so a holistic business model for me means I want to know what your dreams are. I want to know what you thrive on. And I already know you have a dream inside of you. I already know you have the capacity to bring your unique dream, your unique voice fully alive. You wouldn't be here otherwise. This I know about everyone. And as a coach and as a consultant, that's my job, is to help you find that and to spotlight that. All right. So see if you can apply some of those, especially crossing the midline today, getting that head and shoulders and neck into place, getting up and standing up if you're in front of the computer quite often. When you're on the phone, stand up, walk around, use your, open your vessel, open your voice, especially if you're doing sales calls. I'm Stephana Johnson, and I hope you get something out of this, even if it's just entertainment. Reach me through stephanajohnson.com. You can email me directly at stephana@stephanajohnson.com and let me know what you'd like to hear about. And see me at Facebook, Stephana Speaks. So facebook.com/Stephana Speaks. And let's stay in touch. Have a fabulous day.